Huawei was one of my favorite phone brands, and for many, it was one of the most exciting phone brands of their time. In order to understand why Huawei lost a lot of its market share, we first need to understand how big of a phone brand Huawei actually became. Huawei started in 1987 in China, mainly as a telecommunications company, and years later, it entered the smartphone market and started competing directly with some of the biggest smartphone companies in the world. And after some time, people really started to pay attention to most Huawei phones. Phones like the Huawei P20 Pro, the Huawei Mate series, became very popular for their cameras, great battery life, and very powerful hardware. The Huawei P30 series alone sold about 10 million phones in just 85 days after it was launched. In the year 2019, Huawei shipped across the world 240 million units of smartphones. But suddenly, everything changed in May 2019 when the US government placed Huawei on its entity list, which restricted American companies from supplying certain technologies to Huawei without their government's permission. And one of the biggest problems Huawei faced for its international phones was Google services. Certain popular and useful apps from Google were no longer available to new Huawei phones in the market. But interestingly, the restrictions didn't stop there, making it much harder for Huawei to get the chips it needed to make their smartphones. And also, Huawei's global smartphone shipments fell from about 240.6 million phones in 2019 to about 189 million phones in 2020. So Huawei didn't suddenly become a bad company. It is just that the situation around the company had changed.